Teachers of Reddit, what's your most NSFW story from your workplace? I was a teacher 2010 to 2015. I was teaching high school at an all-girls school and there was this student teacher from a local university. He was 19 or 20. He was always being a jerk to this one senior at the school. I thought it a bit odd he was always focusing on her. Fast forward a few months, and it was post-graduation. I was out at a local bar, and look over, and see them together there. A co-worker said they had been screwing for the past few months. I asked him how he knew. There was a smaller teacher's lounge in one of the wings of the school. As there weren't normal classes in that wing, it was not frequented, and the setup wasn't as nice. He said he popped in there one day, and she was down on her knees blowing him. He closed the door and walked away. Not long after, the student teacher found him in his class and asked him what he saw. My co-worker was a bit stunned and said he wasn't sure. The student teacher said that he should keep what he saw to himself or the truth could get twisted against him. He implied the senior would state she was going down on my co-worker and not the student teacher. There were no cameras or anything in that area, so my co-worker decided to keep his mouth shut.
This video is brought to you by Fiverr, the biggest, most affordable, and overall the best freelance website there is. It's a place where you can hire anyone from writers to designers and everyone in between for as little as $5. It's absolutely the best place to save time and money for your projects. But if you want to take your business a step further, we would highly recommend Fiverr Pro, a place where you can work with verified, hand-vetted, exceptionally talented professionals that have, with their work for companies like Google or Apple, proven to be the best in their category. Link in the description below.
I'm a 7th/9th grade teacher. I'm only in my first year. Apparently an 8th grade student 14 years old was getting called a slut and other students were saying she was sleeping with 4 guys every week. She then stood up in my class, turned to the people harassing her, and yelled, "I've only fricked 2 guys this year, so shut up." Being a large man in his early 20s, I completely ignored the situation and just asked everyone to quiet down and get to work. It was very uncomfortable. School maintenance here to come to mind. At one middle school, a boy came running into the office to tell everyone that he saw 2 people in a stall together in the bathroom, and that a girl had been blowing a guy, and that the guy had a huge dick. But I can't remember what word he said. He didn't use the word dick. At another middle school, a teacher who had a bad case of the flu lost control of her bowels in front of her class. She must have been aware it was coming, because the diarrhea started in the middle of the room and there was a huge trail of it from the middle of the room to the hall. We have custodians, but another main guy and I were close by, so we cleaned it up. I felt bad for her. She went home, but was back a few days later, and stayed for the rest of the school year. I'm sure there are more stories. Been doing this for 20 years now. I've told this story several times, but here goes. I was an occasional substitute teacher in the town where I went to college. The band director often requested me to come teach if she was out sick, since I was a music major and could work with the kids on their parts. Get in for a day, and my instructions were to break the kids up by section and have them practice their parts. I spent the next hour listening to a miasma of sounds from woodwinds, brass, strings, etc., but no drumming. If you don't know any drummers, they're always playing or banging on their laps, tables, steering wheels, etc. Curious me goes to investigate the drum room, and I walked in on the token female drummer flashing her breasts to the boys in exchange for money. A girl posted videos to Vine of her penetrating herself with a banana and a hairbrush. Kids quickly found out it was her, and almost every campus around knew about it. She was deemed Banana Girl, and she graduated early to avoid bullying. Sad part is, she actually died in a car crash a few years later. Almost the same thing happened at my high school. A girl took a video of herself masturbating with a hairbrush and sent it to a guy she wanted to date. He sent it to everyone, and she was known as Hairbrush Girl. A teacher, who later was fired for inappropriate behavior towards a student, gave her a hairbrush when she asked for a pass to the bathroom. Got asked what a tidwank was from a tiny nerdy 11-year-old boy whilst trying to teach him about safety on the internet. I told him it wasn't part of the syllabus and that it wasn't suitable to ask me. In high school, we had a beloved teacher and I'm still friends with him to this day. However, he viewed taking attendance as a big waste of time and his class was enjoyable, so kids rarely skipped it, so he'd just give the class a once over and try to notice if anyone was missing. And sometimes kids would yell out that a kid was sick. Well, on this particular day, he marked everyone as present, including a kid that was not in class, as he was busy murdering his uncle. So the teacher had to go to court and say on the record that no, he is not providing an alibi for the student, he's just terrible at attendance. The administration really got on his ass about attendance after that, and he was good about it for a few years, and then he went back to his old ways, saying it's very unlikely he'll have another murder during my class. Caught 2 students having sex on top of the slide on the playground after school. It was one of these slides with the covered waiting area at the top. Her face was sticking out of the front of it, and his ears and feet were sticking out of the back. She saw us, another teacher and I first, and started screaming that she was stuck on the slide. He freaked out, banged his head on the inside and essentially tumbled back down the steps while trying to get his pants up. They were 5th graders BTW. I'm a paramedic, not a teacher, but we ran a call at a high school one day for a girl that was feeling sick. After questioning her for a while trying to find out what was going on, things just weren't making sense. We get her in the back of the ambulance away from parent and teachers and she finally opens up. Apparently she recently started giving her BF oral sex and he wanted to finish in her mouth, but some really grossed her out. So in order to get over her phobia, the BF thought a little exposure therapy would do the trick. He provided her with a Ziploc bag full of semen so she could ingest it all throughout the day. She only made it to about 10 AM before becoming violently ill. Poor girl, I felt so bad. My friend's teaching mentor was insane. She told crazy sex stories to him and a bunch of interns. Sent pictures of men in genital cuffs to co-workers. All kinds of bizarre stuff for any workplace, but definitely for someone who teaches 11-year-olds. Was volunteering in a kindergarten classroom. Was going through some old papers and found a letter from one of the mothers to the teachers explaining a bathroom incident. It went something like this. Kinshiro was in the bathroom stall peeing in the toilet when another student climbed under the stall. Kinshiro got very nervous at the sight of the boy and lost control of his pee. He peed on the student's face because he was very scared. Please do not punish Kinshiro. My sweet lord. I'm Kinshiro. Well, no, I'm Dembones, but this happened to me in grade 1. I was doing my best to pee and the urinal I was very short, so I was happy that I got the stream going upward in a nice arc. There was some yelling, and a kid grabbed me from behind and tried to spin me around, and another kid was sitting on the floor, half under the next urinal. Just as a teacher walked in to see what the noise was, I was standing over this poor kid and peeing all over the front of him, and he was peeing straight up, with it also landing all over him. I was a very shy kid and very well behaved, so I think the teacher understood that the rowdy kid had something to do with my odd position. But my mom later asked me why I peed on Billy. I told her that Cassie turned me around. I didn't get in any trouble, but poor Billy. A pledge juice smelling pee all over the guy. I have too many. The one that sticks out the most is the time my teaching partner and I were working after school. He went down to hall to use the bathroom and saw a line of high school boys coming from out of the girls' bathroom. He taps one on the shoulder and asks what's going on here. Lo and behold, an honors student was in the girls' handicap stall letting the boys' basketball team run train on her to get them pumped up for the state playoffs. Of course she was expelled, but was allowed to walk for graduation in May. Some people let their freak flags fly. This chick was 6 freak flags over Texas. There's a couple. The biggest one was my mentor was caught sharing genital pics with a student that he found on a gay website. Yes, he was married, and just like that I was on my own. The one that caught me off guard was I had a student from a foreign Asian country and she came up to me after class one day asking questions about science. These questions quickly transitioned into a weird place when she started asking me out, saying things like I don't mind having an older boyfriend. Bear in mind her English wasn't the best. I quickly guided her out of the classroom from then on. I subbed at a school once where we had a special ed kid who would not stop pooping in the stairwell. They had teachers escorting him from one class to another. He was theoretically supervised at all times, and yet every week or two he managed to slip away long enough to drop a deuce in the stairwell. I still pity that poor janitor. I worked at a middle school where a kid got a citation for pooping. The phantom pooper was dropping bombs in the bathroom sinks, behind the gym bleachers, etc. Places that were clearly intended to cause shock on discovery or be hidden and cause a stink. They knew it wasn't one of the special ed kids because they were pretty well under control and had tutors/buddies who escorted them everywhere when they went to mainstream classes. Pooping in public past a certain age can be a sign of major psychological problems, so they took it pretty seriously as a possible red flag for a budding psychopath or whatever. After a few weeks they caught the phantom pooper, called him to the front office, brought his parents in too. He was suspended. Cop came and gave the kid a citation to show up in court. He was apparently in tears, shaking, crying, etc. Till pubic urination law also covered defecation. Best comment of the day. I'm not a teacher, but the third story reminded me, when I was in 7th grade, a bus driver caught an 8th grader fingering his 7th grade girlfriend, because it was apparently her birthday. This was on my bus. They apparently did it on the seat beside me, and my friend's seat. Thank God I wasn't on that day, but after that day girls had to sit on one side and boys in the other on all buses. Guess they forgot that gay people exist.